My name is Serena Rich. I work for the O'Donnell Foundation. And Mrs. O'Donnell asked me to congratulate the four of you all. We're so proud of you all. You've done such a remarkable job. You've done so much, and we cannot wait to see what you accomplish in the future. So congratulations. I am very proud and honored to introduce our speaker, Dr. Richard Brettell. He's erudite, accomplished, creative, and energetic. He is always writing, saying, and doing something very interesting. Dr. Brettell is one of the world's authorities on Impressionism and French painting. He has 3 degrees from Yale. He has taught at UT Austin, Northwestern, the University of Chicago, Yale, Harvard, and he is currently the McDermott Distinguished Chair in the Interdisciplinary Program in Arts and Humanities at UT Dallas. He is also an international museum consultant and prolific author. He's enjoyed a rich career with museums and collections all over the world, including the Art Institute of Chicago, the Dixon Gallery and Gardens in Memphis, the Portland Museum, the National Gallery of Australia, and the Millennium Gallery gift of the Sara Lee Collection, for which the company won the National Medal of the Arts in 1999. Dr. Brettell also wrote Monet to More, the Millennium Gift of Sara Lee Corporation, a beautiful gift that documents the collection. During his tenure as McDermott Director of the Dallas Museum of Art, he helped raise $55 million and completed the Hammond Building, which opened in 1993. He's written many books, most recently James McGee, The Hill, in 2010. From the Private Collections of Texas, European Art, Ancient to Modern, in 2009. And Dr. Brettell will share insights from this book this Thursday, I think at the DMA Horchow Auditorium, which is free to the public. So if any of you can attend, I think that will be a wonderful experience. Until 2010, he helped direct FRAME, which is the French Regional American Museum Exchange, which is a coalition of 12 French and 12 American regional museums. Some of you may have had the good fortune to visit the DMA and see the Mourners, which is the tomb sculpture from the court of Burgundy. And it was an exhibition which originated with FRAME. Dr. Brettell has also advised the State Department, lectures at museums and universities throughout the world, and serves on boards of many national cultural organizations. So there is very little he doesn't do. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Richard Brettell.
Thank you. I think when Mrs. O'Donnell called me and asked me if I would do this talk, she thought that maybe there'd be more people who were art people rather than music people amongst the recipients. And I was thinking, as I got your bios, as I was preparing this, and I was reading one music and science, and the next music and science, and the next music and science, and I thought, what do I have to bring to the table? And actually what I have to bring to the table is a lot, because my favorite teacher in my life was my piano teacher. And music is incredibly important to me. And I think that in a funny way, it is the bringing together of the arts and the sciences through music, and all of you exemplify this, which is so important to our culture. When I was thinking, actually, when you were going to be a mixed media group, and I was thinking about how does one really define art and the arts in a simple way, and it dawned on me that one could be like really dumb and think, well, we process everything in the world in our brain. But our brain has to be stimulated in various ways in order to come upon ideas and create ways for us to operate in the world. And what artists do is they create man-made patterns for the senses. We have 5 senses, and 2 of them are dominant senses, sight and hearing, and the other 3, with the exception of eating, which we all share, are slightly recessive. And for the arts, listening and looking are our 2 primary ways, and artists can do more today than ever before in organizing those things, because with each second of time, we have 1,000 times more sensations and choices of sensations that come at us. I remember I was going to bring in the art book that my mom had in university in the late 40s in Wyoming. She majored in home ec. That's what women did in the late 40s. And she had this book, which was my favorite book when I was a child because it had no words. It was a history of art book with only pictures. And so by the time I was 5, I knew the difference between Michelangelo and Caravaggio. I was a nerd too. But those roughly 1,000 works of art were the entire world in the late 40s. And the number of works of art which my mother and my father would have seen in the original in their lives were very few. The number of concerts they would have gone to listen to important music were very few. The number of recordings or reproductions that they had access to were very few. Well, fast forward 85 years, and you have a situation in which we're all bombarded with patterned realities, sonic and oral and of every sort. And for young people, it is essential that they learn to make sense of this world. And a combination of knowledge in the arts and in the sciences is the way to do it. When I got into Yale in 1967, before many of your parents were born, I went to Yale rather than to Harvard because it had the best program in molecular biophysics. And I could have stood here when I was 18 years old and told you I was going to be a molecular biophysicist. Well, look. So I went to Yale because they had the best department in molecular biophysics, and Yale, in all of its wisdom, gave me an art historian as an advisor. So I'm this little kid from Denver, Colorado, who comes in and goes to George Kubler's office. And George Kubler was one of the greatest art historians. I knew nothing about art history. I'd never heard of him. And I went into his office, and he saw that I was interested in physics, and he'd asked me if I read Niels Bohr, the great Danish physicist. I knew everything about Niels Bohr because I was a nerd. And so here I was talking with this art historian about Niels Bohr, and 4 years later I was majoring in art history. Now, what I also think about is a way of getting you to fast forward in your lives is the friendships you form as a young person through the arts. And my example is a really simple one. I had a best friend and a girlfriend when I was in high school. And I graduated from George Washington High School in Denver, Colorado in 1967. And my best friend, my girlfriend, and I were number 2, 4, and 8 in our class of 1,012 kids. And Jennifer, my girlfriend, went to Harvard, and I went to Yale, and my best friend went to Berkeley. So we got out of Colorado. And we all were in the sciences. All of us were in the sciences. But Jennifer played the violin, Alan played the French horn, and I played the piano. And there was only one piece of music in the entire classical literature for horn, violin, and piano. And believe you me, it's by Brahms, and it's really hard, and we know it cold. Well, I want to tell you that many, 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 many years later, we play that piece together almost annually. Alan is the head of the planetarium at Berkeley. Jennifer is a professor in the medical school at the University University of California, San Francisco, and she, like her father, who won the Nobel Prize, is one of the great people in cancer research. And we get together and we play music still to this day. And those things, the patterns that we have made in our lives and the patterns that we've made with music and the patterns that those patterns have made in our mind, so that in our careers in sciences and the visual arts and in the stars, intergalactic realm, which is the realm of Alan Gould, my best friend, still my best friend, it's extraordinary to think how important those patterns are. Now, the 4 of you are going to be, let's see, we have 2 of you staying in Texas, Nisha and Sam. Hooray, Texas. And Texas, of course, is a country, so you're really, since you're leaving Dallas, you're leaving your birthplace. And Kendall and Julian are going to go out of state. And my sister went to the University of Indiana and lives in Bloomington, so I think that's a great choice, and I hope you get into Harvard, because I think you'll like it more than the other places, but you never know. What I was thinking, I was reflecting about where you come from, and you come from DFW. And even though only one of you went to a Dallas school, you come from this enormous cultural community, which in the 22 years since I've lived here has deepened and broadened and become more and more and more important. But there's somebody who's lived here for her whole life, who is now 99 years old, whose name is Margaret McDermott. And she says something to everybody who matters to her and everybody who moves to Dallas, which I want all of you to hear. And that is, it's a very simple thing, that Dallas is one of the few large cities in the world in which one person can make a difference. So all of you are about to leave it, and we want you to have splendid and brilliant careers in universities and in your early lives, but we really want you and need you to come back. Thank you.